Szanowni Państwo, tutaj Dominik Prokop z Departamentu Relacji Inwestorskich i Nadzoru Właścicielskiego. Witam wszystkich bardzo serdecznie na konferencji wynikowej Alior Banku podsumowującej wyniki za pierwszy kwartał 2025 roku. Jak co kwartał w pierwszej części naszej konferencji wyniki banku i trendy, które im towarzyszą, zaprezentują członkowie zarządu banku. Pan prezes Piotr Żabski podsumuje najważniejsze
Piotr
trendy
Żabski,
i
the CEO
zaprezentuje
of
wyniki z
the
obszaru biznesu.
bank, will summarize the most
Wiceprezes
important
zaprezentuje
elements.
wyniki z
Deputy
obszaru
CEO
finansów
will talk
i
about the
wiceprezes
finance
Marcin
area,
Ciszewski,
and
który
Mr. Marcin
zaprezentuje wyniki
Ciszewski, Deputy
z
CEO,
obszaru
will talk
ryzyka.
about
W drugiej
risk.
części
In
spotkania
the
zaraz
second
po
part of the
zakończeniu
meeting,
prezentacji
after
przejdziemy
we
tradycyjnie do
have finished with
sesji
the presentation, we will have a
Zanim
Q&A
przekażę
session.
głos Piotrowi, gorąco
Before I give the
wszystkich
floor to Piotr,
zachęcam, którzy nas
let me
słuchają i
encourage
oglądają, do
everybody
zadawania
who's
pytań już
listening
w
to us.
trakcie pierwszej części naszej konferencji.
I would like to encourage you to ask questions during the
sesji
first
Q&A.
part
Ze swojej strony
already,
bardzo dziękuję
and
i bardzo
that'll
proszę
be
Piotra o
a
prowadzenie
good segue to the Q&A.
Dominik, dzień
Piotr,
dobry Państwu.
over to
Witam
you.
serdecznie na
Good morning.
konferencji związanej z
Let me welcome you to the first
prezentacją
conference
wyników naszej nowej strategii.
about the performance of our new strategy. As you remember, we announced a new strategy in late March. It was the very end of the first quarter,
Wyniki, którego przyszło nam
and the financial results of that first quarter, they will be commented on today. If I were to summarize everything with just a single sentence, I would say that we are pleased with what we've achieved
z jednej strony ogłosiliśmy strategię,
in Q1. We announced the strategy, and there is a number of things remaining to do. Now, the implementation of the changes and the impact of those changes will be seen in the next coming quarters. So Q1 still has some inertia in it,
Tym bardziej to cieszy, że wyniki,
and
które Państwo za chwilę zobaczycie,
I'm very happy that the performance we are going to be presented are good in spite of certain one-offs
wolumenów w księgach
and certain changes to the volumes in our books.
to, co sobie zaplanowaliśmy, to mogę powiedzieć, że w pierwszym kwartale zrealizowaliśmy, ale tak
We
nie być gołosłownym.
basically achieved what we had planned for Q1, but let me now give you some more
Nasza działalność
concrete
operacyjna,
details.
w pierwszym kwartale
Now, for the first quarter, if we talk about our operating activities, there are a number of important elements here.
na liczbę klientów z główną
First of all,
wyniosła
the number of customers with a main relationship was over 1 million, which is 56,000 more.
Ważnym elementem jest to, że rośniemy
And
również w
importantly,
samej liczbie klientów, ale klienci
it's not just the number of customers who
wzrost rok do roku
that is growing, but it's also the number of people who do the banking with us through the mobile app, which is up 16%.
Nasz biznes przenosi się do
So we are keeping abreast of the latest developments, and our business is moving to the mobile area.
bardzo ważny dla nas wzrost portfela depozytów.
The growth of the deposit portfolio is very important to us,
78,
and we have grown by
5%.
5%,
Wartość to jest 78,
which is 78.5
Bardzo istotna
billion
dla nas,
zlotys.
dlatego, że na tym
This is very
poziomie
important to
pozwala
us
również
because this is the
naszej strategii, że chcemy
sort of
budować jakąś relacyjną
customer
przyszłość.
that we want to build our relationship-based
To, co chyba
banking
najbardziej
in the
takie,
future.
spektakularne w
That's
każdym
part of our
kwartale,
strategy.
warte podkreślenia, to
Now, in
sprzedaż
Q1,
hipotecznych
mortgage
nieruchomości,
loans were an
naszych
important
klientów
part
detalicznych.
of our
Ona,
strategy. This is
przekroczyła 1
to
miliard.
retail customers, and this has exceeded 1 billion zlotys,
Kwartał do
which is
kwartału,
a
jeżeli
quarter-on-quarter
oczyścimy
increase of
poprzedni kwartał z
32%.
efektu,
This is once we
jaki
adjust the previous quarter
wówczas efektu
for
wsparcia rządowego programu BK2.
to remove the effects
Tutaj
of
warto
the
podkreślenia jest to,
governmental
że,
support
wszystko to
program.
odbywa, w momencie wysokich stóp procentowych.
Now, everything that I've been talking about has been happening in an environment of high interest rates. We remain ready to pay out the dividend at the level of 50%, and this has not changed compared to what we said when we were announcing the strategy. Now, revenues in Q1 were 1.47 billion. Our net interest income was 1.28 billion, which is a growth of 1%, and our commission income was down 3%. Zdzisław will comment on this in a moment.
Wynik tym samym nasz za pierwszy kwartał
So our performance for
to
Q1
476 milionów, on był niższy o 100 milionów, ale tutaj
was
nawiążę do późniejszych
100% lower than
więc
in the
jedyne,
previous year
Państwo
at
dostajecie, ten
476
zespół
million.
obarczony zdarzeniem
Now, this
jednorazowym.
net
Jeżeli
profit
oczywiście
was
porównujemy rok
also
do roku,
impacted by
to
one-offs.
pierwszy
Comparing
kwartał był
year on year, the
podniesiony
previous
różnymi zdarzeniami,
first
ten był
quarter
obniżony,
was
ale
boosted by
oczyszczając
one-offs,
tylko i
and the
wyłącznie
current Q1 was
pierwszy kwartał jednorazowych zdarzeń,
worse as a
to
result of
wynik niż
one-offs.
stanowi
So the
514
actual
Ważne dla
performance
nas,
would have been
stabilizacja
517 million
kosztów
if not
ryzyka.
for the one-offs.
I tutaj,
Now, the
warto
stabilization
podkreślić
of
to,
the cost of
co
risk
zaufania
is
strategicznym.
important to us, and again, we are following our strategic plan,
Tutaj, czy poprawiamy nasze parametry.
and we're improving
Na
our
koniec
parameters.
utrzymujemy cały czas wysoką naszą
And
pozycję
our
kapitałową.
capital
Nasze
position
nadwyżki
remains
dają
very
nam,
strong. We have a
dają nam
surplus,
tutaj nadzieję czy dają nam szansę na duże wzrosty.
which gives us an
w
opportunity
kolejnych
for
kwartałach,
significant
gdzie
growth
będziemy
in the coming
podejmować
quarters
walkę i realizować nasze ambitne plany strategiczne.
when it comes to implementing
Tutaj
our
macie
ambitious
państwo,
strategic plans.
trochę więcej informacji. Nasze aktywa rok do
In
roku
this slide, we
wzrosły
can
6%,
see that our assets have grown by 6% year on year,
kredyty pracujące
performing loans
1%,
by 1%,
takie
deposits by
główne parametry
5%,
jak NIM,
and the main parameters
margin,
such as
na
net
poziomie
interest
5,78,
margin or NIM
on jest
at
niższy o 8
5.88, which is
procentowych. To też
8%,
wynika z tego, ze struktury
8
naszych
basis points
aktywów,
lower,
które aktywa zmieniły się.
and this is
Mamy
the
więcej
result of a changing structure of
kredytów
assets.
na stałą stopę, aktywów
We
na
have
stałą
more
stopę,
fixed
która
rate
zabezpiecza na przyszłość,
loans,
no ale stała stopa, wiadomo, jest niższa niż zmienna, więc
which
tutaj,
is
ten efekt jest
different from
widoczny.
floating, so
ROE na poziomie
this is the effect.
16,8,
ROE on the level of
bardzo
16.8%, which is a very good result. Also, cost to income at 42, very good result.
Tutaj
And
zagrały nam zdarzenia jednorazowe.
we had some one-offs here, the BFG,
O tym,
the
że
banking
trochę inaczej
guarantee
rozpoznajemy w
fund,
tej chwili koszty.
and the fact that
Też
we
to było obiecane
recognize our
w
costs in a
kwartale,
slightly
że
different
będziemy
way. And that's something
bardziej
we
stabilizować
promised in the
linię,
previous
więc,
quarter. We said we would be stabilizing this
oczyszczony ten
line
parametr, ten
a bit
wzrost,
more.
poniżej
So
40, w tej chwili 38.
being at
Więc,
38
około 38%.
or about
Cost of
38% is the
risk,
current level. The cost of risk
4,
is at
lekki wzrost,
0.74%, which is slightly
mała
up,
rekalibracja modeli, o czym
but that was because we
powiemy.
recalibrated our
Nasze
models,
SPL-e,
and we're going to discuss it in a moment.
niepracujący portfel,
And as for our
stała
non-performing
poprawa,
loan portfolio, we have been consistently improving the situation here,
jeden z kluczowych
and we're very happy
naszej
about it
strategii.
because that's one of
W dalszej
key
części,
elements of our strategy.
będziemy omówić, jak realizujemy nasz biznes w
Let me now
poszczególnych liniach
talk
biznesowych.
about how we
Dwie
do
linie
business in
biznesowe,
individual
dwie
business lines. We've got
indywidualnej
retail
biznesowej.
and we've got
Tak,
business
pierwsza
clients as our main two lines.
linii biznes-
And the first business line
klientów
for
indywidualnych.
retail customers
Wzrośliśmy, jeżeli chodzi o liczbę klientów relacyjnych.
shows
To jest
a
wzrost o
growth
82
of
tysiące, do roku 5%.
relational customers by 5% year on year.
Wspomniana aplikacja mobilna,
And the
182
mobile
tysiące,
app
przyrostu.
has
Nasz
gone
biznes
up by
przesuwa się do mobila i
182,000. So
może
our
tempo nie
business
jest,
is moving
jeszcze
to
tak, jakbyśmy sobie
the
życzyli, ale to
mobile
dopracowaliśmy naszej
sphere.
strategii.
This might not be as quick as we would have
Ten
hoped
ostatni
for,
kwartał
but we are also
aplikacji
addressing this in our
skupiliśmy się na
strategy.
poprawie,
And in the
stabilizacji
recent
tejże-
quarter,
tego rozwiązania
we
tak
tried to
zwanego
stabilize
niezawodne, więc tym
our
bardziej cieszą
solutions to make sure they are reliable, and we're happy to see the growth. The new app that we are working on
ujrzy światło dzienne pod koniec tego roku.
will
Pierwsze
be ready
zobaczymy,
later this year.
w nowej odsłonie pod koniec roku.
So we'll be launching it in late
Na tym
2025.
slajdzie, mamy trochę większy rzut oka na to, co się dzieje po stronie
Here we
depozytów
can see
lewego
what's
orderu.
happening
Bardzo
on
cieszy
the
ten
side
wzrost,
of
12%
our
rok do
deposits. So
roku.
with a
Klienci depozytowi,
12% growth
strategii,
for deposit
mają
customers
szczególne miejsce.
who are particularly
Chcemy
important in
poprzez
our
depozyty
strategy.
również docierać,
It is through deposits that we want to reach out to those customers to offer bank accounts and other products to them and hope to generate growth.
Widzicie, nastąpił istotny
in each of these positions, there has been a significant growth.
Cały nasz portfel
Now, for gross loans, we have been up 2% and is 1% up Q on Q.
po lewej stronie na dole.
It's important to see what we are showing in the bottom left-hand corner. Consumer loans at 2.2 billion, 600 million up, and loans are seasonal, is also related to how we get in touch with our customers. So the 19% total growth year on year is what I believe to be a very solid result. And finally, we've got mortgage loans, and the yellow part is the safe loan, the 2% safe loan program. If you look at the burgundy color, 0.4, and these growths are very significant, from 0.4 to 1. And this is, mind you, an environment of high interest rates. So some customers are postponing these decisions, waiting for the rates to go down. And there are changes on the property market as well, and we are posting growth here. So even in mortgage loans, we are growing faster than what could logically follow from our share in the sector. Now, mortgage loans, just like deposits, are another element of our strategic approach, because we want to have long-term relationships with our customers. Now, the second leg that we stand on, about 30% of our business, is the second business line, namely the business customers. Our loan volume is stable. We are still trying to tidy up the portfolio. We're trying to get rid of the non-performing loans, and the growths we are hoping for in our strategy will surely come. But right now, the key element for us is to stabilize the portfolio in order to be able to say, from the risk point of view, that the time is ripe for growth. Now, this is the last month. January and February were more stable, but March, for small and medium-sized companies, has rebounded, and there is some sales growth. This does not yet translate into the total volume of loans, because we still have to deal with the non-performing loans. But the pace of growth is quite promising. And these customers also do digital banking with us. We're very happy about it, because we are going to launch our business banking app. We're also active on the leasing market. Our leasing company has a portfolio that's grown by 4% year on year, and the sale of new leases is in line with what the market has been like recently. It has not been growing. Mind you, we are not present in all the segments of this market, and we don't have all the products. We need to specialize, and wherever we do specialize, we are very good. The third bullet point shows that when it comes to vehicles over 3.5 tons, we are number 3 on the market, and we have seen a very significant share in the segment of 15%. So we're happy to see that wherever we put in the effort, the results come very soon. Now, this is something I mentioned before: new business customer online banking system, a new solution with a new technology. And it's a different paradigm when it comes to banking. Through this solution, we give our customers the opportunity to run the company with banking functions in the background. There's an upcoming change of the regulations, and small and medium-sized companies in particular, which will have to adapt to the new technological requirements, will be getting our solution free of charge, and they will be able to run their company with us, and the banking function will be, in a way, in the background. We'll be supporting warehousing, accounts, and all the other areas. We are now scaling up the solution, and this is part of the strategy, as we said, and hopefully in the coming periods this will positively boost our sales. As we said, our brand is one of our competitive advantages. We are now refreshing the brand. There's a new positioning. We are trying to be a more of a relational bank to make sure that our customer realizes that if they want to have a long-term relationship with a bank, then Alior is the right choice. No, we have not given up on the bowler hat. That is our distinguishing feature. But we don't talk about the products as much. We focus on other attributes. And the feedback after our first campaigns has been very good.
That is all from me. Now I'll hand over to Marcin Ciszewski, who will tell us about the risk side of the business. Good morning. The capital and cash flow position is very good. The first quarter was closed with a very good ratio, both in Tier 1 and TCR at the level of 17.7. In terms of liquidity, as far as the regulations are concerned, there was a change on the 1st of January 2025. CRA 3 was introduced. And so our ratio went down by 120 points, out of which 40 points related to the advanced method change, and 80 points the net impact of CRR change vis-à-vis the credit portfolio. So in both aspects, we have very good capital reserves, and also the REL is a very safe level of 20.6 to 1. In the current year, in the first half, we will be rolling out one of the issues, and at the end of the year, we will want to place another issue. As far as the liquidity ratios are concerned, both the short and long term are above the regulatory minimums. 148% NSFR and 257% LCR. Moving on to the risk cost. The first quarter, we did not observe any one-off events like the sale and the portfolio or recalibration of the model, so we can assume that 0.74% of COR reflects the current level of credit risk. We continue work on the adequate level of the non-performing loans in our credit portfolio. We want to achieve a strategic goal, which would be to go below 5% in terms of the NPL ratio. If we look at how this breaks down into different segments of our business activities, in the corporate business, we noted a further drop to 13.11% as far as the impaired loans are concerned, and in the retail customers, it remains at a stable level. As far as the NPL provision coverage is concerned, it is also at a stable level for the whole of the portfolio. For the whole of the portfolio, 51%, and in retail, 60%, and in corporate, 47.9%. As I mentioned, the first quarter is a lack of one-offs.
Poziom koru w rozbiciu na segmenty również reprezentuje nasz bieżący poziom ryzyka. I tak dla klienta korporacyjnego to 0,92%, dla klienta indywidualnego 0,62%. Dziękuję bardzo Państwu.
Dzień dobry Państwu, teraz czas na wyniki finansowe. Kiedy spojrzymy na dystrybucję przychodów w 5 ostatnich kwartałach, można odnieść wrażenie, że pierwszy kwartał 2025 roku był troszkę słabszy. Przygotowaliśmy Państwu informacje o one-offach, które miały miejsce w pierwszym kwartale i mogą tutaj zmienić troszkę perspektywę patrzenia na nasze wyniki. Otóż jeżeli uwzględnimy, że dokonaliśmy 9 milionów zwrotów z prowizji w wyniku przeprowadzenia konsolidacji pożyczki gotówkowej. Jest to ciekawy produkt, z którego klienci skorzystali dość licznie w pierwszym kwartale, który pozwolił im na większe uporządkowanie swoich finansów. My musieliśmy tutaj skorygować w związku z tym 9 milionów i ta część dotyczy wyniku odsetkowego. Drugim takim punktem jest nieefektywność transakcji w ramach makro fair value hedge'a, blisko 30 milionów złotych. Tutaj też jest na tyle istotna pozycja, że
which is an important position in the fair value hedge because that is the nature of these instruments. We are well protected in terms of looking at the future, but there is some variability in different quarters. And we can hope that we will have a neutral result in this particular position. As far as the third item is concerned, we create additional reserve. And if we move on to further cost items, let's remember that the costs of Alior Bank in different quarters were quite low. Sometimes they went up considerably. There was a big variability. We will do our best to make these levels comparable. Now, taking into account the one-offs, our net profit is 476. That is the reported net profit. If we take into account the correction, we would have 511, which is a very good result. Similarly, in the income part, it would be 1.5 billion zlotys, which is again a very solid result and gives a good prognosis for subsequent quarters. In the next quarter, there is a detailed breakdown of our income statement. We've already discussed some of the items. I will discuss some others in next slides. What I would like to draw attention to is the net profit, which allowed us to generate 16.8 ROE. However, the correction by the one-off gives us the level of 17.2%, which is again a very good result. The net interest margin, if we compare year-on-year results in the first quarter of 2024, we had 215, now we have 187. So a very good improvement with some margin for further improvements. Cost-to-income ratio is definitely below 50%. I will go into greater detail at subsequent slides. Let us consider the financial result, a growth by 1% year-on-year. But if we take into account the 9 million that I mentioned, which represented a shift in the positions between the interest rate and the commercial result because of the sale of the bonds, which were euro-denominated, we noticed a 9 million loss in the interest rate result. So if we conclude that in the general calculation, we would have a very solid result. The interest rate margin is under a lot of pressure. That is true for the whole of the sector, but we have very high values in the first quarter, 588. What we are particularly happy about that if we consider the cost of risk level, which tend to go down. It is still very high. We have 5.15% there. As for the financing cost, it has grown as a result of good product policy in terms of deposits. We offer solutions which are taken up readily by customers. As we declared in our strategy, what we want to develop is a base of relationship customers for whom we will be an important lifelong partner, or a multi-annual partner at least. If we offer good deposit conditions, this obviously impacts our financing costs, but the change is not very big. So if we take it into account the drop in interest rate, which is upcoming, there is still an area for improvement. Our credit deposits ratio is at the 78.5% level. There's a dynamic increase in deposits in terms of the retail banking. Now, commissions income, this is a weaker part of our general result. 209 million zlotys. I am convinced that in the subsequent quarters there will be improvements there. However, what I'd like to comment on further, and that is under the slide, 4 million zlotys of the lower commission ratio resulted from the Safe Credit 2%, which gave us considerable commission income. Now, we move on from the one-off settlements to monthly installments, which means that some of the income of the first quarter would be distributed in terms of its settlement. So that is the result of the correction. An important aspect of that is the year-on-year comparison in the corporate sector doesn't show us the renewal or regeneration that is expected by the market. I think in April we are seeing the first harbingers of positive changes. There is more intensity in the sales activity. However, there's been a slight decrease in the first quarter. That is why we have the 6 million difference if we consider the year-on-year result. Now, operating expenses. As I mentioned, if we look at the left side, we see a variability in costs between the different quarters. What we want to achieve is a more flat line, which would be more correlated to our income, hence the additional reserve that has been set up in different cost groups. In total, it is 14 million zlotys, and it is within the 14 million figure. Without it, the cost would grow to 602. If we compare year on year, the operating expenses grew. 23 million was the personnel cost in that, and 34 million was the BFG premium cost. There was also a general and administrative cost which grew. Also, IT services expenses grew by 9%, by 9 million zlotys. If we look at the increases, the cost-to-income ratio was at the level of 92%. If we consider that one of the BMG payments and is settled in January, but it concerns the whole of the year, so if we distribute it, and if we take out of the income all the elements related to the so-called credit vacation, the cost-to-income ratio would drop down to 38.8%, which is the expected result. If we look at the expenses increase, what I can suggest to you is that we draw a lot of attention to the discipline of expenses, and we believe the further increase will be related to inflation. And if we take BFG out, which is something that is not dependent on the board activities, the other costs should grow within the bracket of 6 to 7%. That is all from me. I hand over to Piotr. Thank you, gentlemen. We now move on to the summary. We are very happy from the results of the first quarter, which coincide with our strategy. We must remember that to repeat the previous year result will not be so obvious, simply because this particular year is burdened with a number of events that did not take place last year. For instance, soon we will be witnessing an interest rate drop. There is obviously a lot of pressure on costs. We have further payments, for instance, related to BFG. So we need to identify these issues, considering our growth that we envisage in the strategy. There is investment that is required. There are technological solutions which have to be developed. There are some marketing activities shifting us towards the relationship bank. This is obviously something that will bring a delayed result. What we are happy about is that we are on track as far as implementing our objective is concerned. We maintain a leadership position in consumer finance. We have a very distinctive brand which has been refreshed and which is already bringing profits. And our business model is built on modern technologies and a variety of distribution channels. We want to raise it to an even higher level, addressing some technological changes, which again will bring a delayed result in the future. As regards the cost of risk, NPLs are going down according to the trend. The cost of risk, it is at a planned level, and the NPL is on a decreasing trajectory. As regards return on equity, it is at an expected level according to our strategy and the objectives. As for the surplus and the capital position, it gives us hope for further increases, and our activities in relation with the PZU Group concerns on developing new insurance products, and that will develop and will bring its results in the future. So this should also translate in good results, and we also maintain our declaration of paying out the dividend at the level of 50% of the bank's profits. So let this be the summary and the strategy which we discussed with you quite recently, the strategy of an ambitious growth and stability in our result and the improvements in our structure will be implemented together with different solutions, but it will not happen suddenly. We are ready for a long distance run. We are just taking the first steps, but the first quarter shows us that our position is in accordance with our expectations. I want to thank you very much for our presentation, and we will now be very happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Bardzo dziękuję.
Thank you. This takes us to Q&A. Question number one. Did you change your sensitivity to reductions of interest rates compared to the late 2024 in Q1? If they go down by another percentage point, will your sensitivity to that be higher than when compared to the reduction for the first percentage point? 12 months, 100 basis points would mean the net interest result down by 100 million. If this went down by another 100 basis points, that would mean 150 million zlotys. Assuming a reduced interest rate of 1%, what will be the interest margin in 2025? It also depends on how fast the interest rates go down. Our assumption is that the growth for our business volume will be sufficient to compensate for the reduced interest rates, and we will try to deliver the income performance at a similar level to last year. The pressure on net interest margin will mean that we'll be at about
Doskonale, bardzo
5.7
dziękuję.
or
I kolejne
5.8 at
pytanie.
the end of the year.
Jaki jest obecny poziom wskaźnika
What is the
finansowania
current
długoterminowego?
level of long-term financing indicator?
Ten wyniósł
47.13% at the end
Bardzo
of
dziękuję,
Q1.
Marcin. Kolejne pytanie. Czy macie plany emisji
Do you have
kapitału
any
Tier
plans to
2?
issue Tier 2
na ten
capital?
rok nie mamy takich
We have no
planów,
such plans for
natomiast
this year,
nie wykluczamy tego w
but
szybkim terminie.
it is possible in the future.
Dziękuję bardzo. I kolejne pytanie. Jaki jest poziom potencjalnych
What is
zwrotów
the
prowizji od
level
udzielonych
of
pożyczek gotówkowych związanych z
reimbursement of
konsolidacją
commission
pożyczek,
on
jakiego
cash
spodziewacie
loans
się do
related to the
końca roku?
consolidation of loans by the end of the year? We don't disclose this level of detail. What we have presented has a significant impact in Q1, those 9 million zlotys. So what I can tell you is when we look at the situation in April, this is a significantly smaller
Świetnie, bardzo
scale.
dziękuję. I kolejne pytanie. Jaka jest wartość
What is the
wskaźnika
value
SOT NII
of
na
the
koniec marca
SOT NII indicator
2025 roku?
as of end of March?
3,4%.
3.4%.
Bardzo dziękuję, Marcin. I kolejne pytanie. Jaka jest wasza opinia
What is your
o
opinion
potencjalnym wpływie ceł
about
wprowadzonych
the
przez USA
potential
na
impact
polską
of
gospodarkę?
the American tariffs? What will be the impact on the Polish economy?
Polska gospodarka będzie pośrednio zarażona, no bo jesteśmy
The Polish economy will be impacted indirectly. We live in a globalized world.
to klient biznesowy.
A third of our business is business clients rather than retail customers. So our business customers, especially the companies that export their products, will feel the impact of the trade war and the increased tariffs. We are keeping track of the situation, and we could be presenting different scenarios now, but what we have not seen so far, and what the tariffs may do, is impact the revenues of our business customers, the companies that export things, and that would reduce their performance. And hypothetically, this might impact their ability to repay loans. This is not happening now yet, but this is a potential path in the
Bardzo
future.
dziękuję, Piotrze. Kolejne pytanie. Dlaczego bank przechodzi na raty
Why
miesięczne w
is the
ubezpieczeniach?
bank moving
Czy to
towards
zmniejsza
monthly
ryzyko
payments for
związane z
insurance?
SKD?
Does this reduce the SKD risk? Yes, we do that to reduce any legal risk, and also this is an attractive offer for the customers. They prefer to have a monthly payment rather than paying a single one-off payment. It's quite a bit to pay at the very beginning. So from the point of view of this offer being attractive to the
Bardzo
customers,
dziękuję.
it makes
Kolejne
sense.
pytanie. Jakich benefitów bank spodziewa
What
się
benefits is the bank
się po zmianach
expecting to
struktury
have
grupy w
after
holdingu?
the group structure changes? This is a question to our shareholder. It's the shareholder that is changing their structure. You have heard about their plans, and we are definitely supporting those plans. It will result in 5 billion in terms of equity not being
Kolejne pytanie. Kiedy wynik z
left
opłat
idle
i
in the
prowizji
group.
może przyspieszyć?
When will the performance and the result from fees and commissions go up? We're hoping to get a significant increase in commissions in 2026. As we said in the strategy, there are a number of projects that we want to implement, but they require time. We want to give the customers a new value that they will be willing to pay commission for, but
Bardzo
that
dziękuję.
requires time.
Wyczerpaliśmy już listę wszystkich pytań.
Thank you
Wszystkim
very
osobom
much.
bardzo dziękuję. Bardzo
This is
dziękuję
the end of the
przewodniczącemu za
questions. I would like to
udział w
thank
konferencji.
everybody.
Dziękujemy
Thanks
za
to the
udział
members of the
w
board for
przedstawieniu.
participating, and we'll see you in a quarter.
Miłego dnia, do widzenia.
Thank you. Goodbye.